what to do when things don't work out. Well, in my case, I just decided to go on. I waited for a while and then I went on. So what am I talking about? Well, a few of you might know the goal today was to go live with Chica Joe and talk about Chicago and how this led to the cleanup challenge. But something came up, so I had to switch plans. And I was like, yeah, I am going to go live anyway to talk about the cleanup challenge and how the last three days have been, and they have been amazing. And also to give you a little status update on how things are going on my end. So you might see that there's this big microphone over here, and quite honestly, I have no clue if you can hear me very well, if it makes any difference, and if someone was to talk to me, if I could hear them. That's what I need other people for. But this is about being focused, keeping a goal in mind. And the goal is to reach out to you, to have better quality, so I can also use it for my podcast. And I'm very excited to say, yeah, the podcast is coming here. And well, I'm going to be accountable. So at the beginning of the new year, you will have the podcast. That's my solemn promise. So the next week and a half, I'm going to spend sorting out what I already have and also recording some other stuff. So what does this have to do with the whole cleanup challenge? Well, when I talked to you about the cleanup challenge on day 1, I was talking about total chaos. Well, there is still some chaos on my end when it comes to microphones. As you can see, I do have some other stuff that I haven't fully tried yet, but I do believe this is a very good first step. And if by the end of the live I figure out that none of you have heard anything of what I've said, then okay, we just try and do it again, and then in a different way. What I have noticed is that for a lot of people out there, things made sense. And that's the whole goal. So on the second day, I was talking about goals and being specific with your goals. Well, my goal is to support other people in finding their voice and realizing that it's okay to be who you want to be. Because when chaos is ruling, it usually doesn't help you in your life, in your business, relationships, you name it, and there's an influence. And when you get back to focusing on that one specific goal, being precise about what it is you want, then a large part of the clutter will already disappear. So how about if things don't go the way you want? That's something I haven't talked about in the last couple of days, but I think it's a good one to use that example. For me personally, this had to do with I wanted everything gone by the time I would go to London, which, by the way, is tomorrow evening. And I know everything here is in good hands, so I can say so, because I know that there always be people here walking around, looking around, and that always gives me a good feeling, makes me feel safe. So I planned a whole bunch of things. As for what I need to do when I want to go to London, that worked. I also wanted a specific microphone. That didn't work out. But that's okay too. You know, things don't have to go that quickly. And that's basically what I got to realize. I had posted some things on Marketplace. In the conversational part, when they wanted it, they actually said, "Hey, Stacy." They actually said, "Yes, sure, I want it for this price." And then when they didn't want it anymore, they just total silence. Can happen. And I was like, okay, so what's that going to mean? Does that mean that I am going to bring it all to Goodwill tomorrow? Or am I going to give it a few more days, maybe up till the new year? So, and last but not least, we talked about a lot of emotional stuff, both on day one and yesterday. And Stacy is here, and Stacy knows. So Stacy, can you hear me? Because you are the first one to hear me while I'm using this microphone over here. So I'm kind of curious, and maybe I can invite you to go live with me and talk about the last few days. That would be very cool. And then I would know if this actually works, because I have no clue if I would be able to hear you if you were to go live with me. So I did what I needed to do. I plugged in the headset into this little device. It's called a Zoom device, AMS24. Okay, well, that's okay. Maybe you can just leave a little comment on, well, not little, maybe you can leave a comment on the thing that struck you the most. I do know that you recognized a lot in my story, but maybe there's something other that you can actually comment on. That would be very cool. So, well, I'm happy to hear that you hear me perfectly. So that's good. That's good to see. So one part of going live has succeeded today. So like I said, sometimes things do not go according to plan. And that's okay too. We don't have to do it all in one day. Oh, that's good. That's good. So that means that this is a process of taking one step at a time, especially when it's highly emotional and you want to get rid of all the clutter, which is linked to emotions, events that have taken place. And how do you deal with those events that have taken place? Well, I tried to give you some pointers, like please talk to other people about it, so you can get a little bit, when you talk to people, it gives you room to reflect. It changes your mind a little bit. And I guess that's the thing that's so very important, that when you think back about people, look at the pictures, remember the good times. And yes, maybe there were very hard times, which were very difficult. But I do believe that by looking at the good things, and looking back at the pictures and looking back at the memories, and maybe even things you didn't know there was a memory related to, it could change. So for instance, I've got this thing right here. Some of you have seen this before. I'm pretty sure Stacy hasn't. And this is one of the things I will not get rid of. Absolutely not. So basically this is a drawing doll, and when I emptied the closets of my mom, I figured out that she had drawn, you can see it over there, a little face on there, which was so immensely cool. And this was something we found in the toy store. It was normally placed on one of the candles. Oh, let's get you to see something. So this doll is always there with me. It's standing on my table, and since not too long, I have this one next to it. So this one actually reminds me of my dad. It's Lego. Now, I can't remember my dad having Lego in his toy store, but I do remember him growing sunflowers. And You know, there were times that I would come home and I would look over the fence, and these babies, they can grow so big. And it's kind of cool because I like putting things together. And well, this is something new from Lego. It's got all these things with flowers. So it's actually standing next to my mom's drawing doll. And, you know, their heads are butted together. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I totally love sunflowers. So much that I actually got a second pair. So the first 2 sunflowers I bought when I was in Paris. And I have to say, when it comes to Paris and we talk about bittersweet emotions, well, I can tell you in Paris I've had some bittersweet emotions. Because when we went there the first time, someone really close to us had passed away. And that was literally like the night before. Well, try and do things and travel when you're basically mourning. But the good thing was, we laughed so much. We had such a good time. And now going to Disney was a totally different experience for me. First of all, I went alone. I was planning on meeting someone in Paris. That didn't happen. And I was like, well, if I go to Paris, then at least let me do something fun. So I said, I am going to go to Disneyland. Well, this is the part where I actually embrace the fact that walking isn't going very well. And especially that people have said, yeah, that's true. We know that you can't walk very well, so we are going to help you out. Here is a disabled parking card. And because I had a disabled parking card, I could go first in line. Well, first of many who could go first too. And I remember going what I call the old mining train. So that's the Thunder Mountain, the big Thunder Mountain. And, you know, I would get in, I would come off, and I would literally walk back in again. And so at some point someone said something and I said, yeah, you know the thing? I said, I can't walk that long, which is true. I said, so, you know, it's so much easier for me to just step out, go round back, and then get back in again. And that's what I did. So in total, because I did go back, I think I went there 3-4 times in that old mining train. And then I also, of course, had to go to the act of Pirates of the Caribbean. That's basically why I love the movie so much. And I think I went in there like 3 times too. And then I was done. Oh my God, I was so tired. So I did see a little bit of Universal Studios, but oh, I was really, really, really exhausted. But at the same time, I celebrated the fact that I was able to walk there without my crutches and go and do the things that I love to do. So maybe I can't do as much as other people would do, but then again, I did exactly what I wanted to do, which was go in that old mining train, take lots of pictures, and also enjoy Pirates of the Caribbean. And of course, they had added Johnny Depp this time around. So I remember that they had him sitting on a bridge, and that wasn't the case anymore, but he has his own throne. And yes, I did it. And tomorrow, when I'll be going to London, yeah, the last time I was in London, that was to see Tony Robbins, 13,000 people. And we went to the London Excel, and oh my gosh, that was not easy. I basically, when I got in, started to look for, do they have a wheelchair over here I can use? And it was quite funny because I would be in wheelchairs for people twice my size. So, and it was long. So I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? So I looked for people in black shirts. Those were the people who were assisting Tony Robbins. And we had so much fun, even so that there is a short video on my YouTube channel. And I think it's called the London Excel Bridge. And one of the guys, and this is basically what I do. This really gets to the heart of what I do. He pushed me onto the bridge. I wanted to go to Starbucks. Yeah, me and Starbucks. Starbucks, yeah. And he said, oh, you know what I want to do? I said, well, what? I want to run pushing you. I said, okay. And now I think I need to go back from the microphone, or we can test what it's going to do when I go really loud. So I started to encourage him and I said, go, 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 go! It was so much fun, and people actually at the end of the line, they were clapping for him, you know, like they all saw it happening. So that was so immensely cool. Yeah, London is a very cool place, and I've been there numerous times when everything was normal again, when I just could walk. I dare to say that one of the reasons I was able to pick up how the L trains worked in Chicago had to do with being familiar with the underground in London, because they have the green line and they have the yellow line, so they have the circle, and they call it a bunch of different lines. And once you know the system, it's actually very usable all over the world if they have a similar sort of system. Although, of course, the trains in Chicago are elevated and those in London are underground. And yeah, I look forward to being there, spending time with Joe, and also seeing another side of London that I've never seen. Simply because normally I don't do sightseeing. I like to go somewhere with a purpose, but it's going to be quiet because these are the holidays basically, and then shops are not open. There's not that much to do, but we are spending time in the hotel room, and she already knows this. What we are going to do is we also are going to enjoy our own Starbucks over there. And how? Well, apparently I'm the secret Santa. All of us are secret Santas. Learned something new. And this secret Santa sent a package to Joe in London. And she already knows what it is, but it's gift wrapped anyway. And so that's a milk, I think you call it a milk froster. I call it a milk foam machine. And that's basically the basic ingredient for a nice latte. And I figured out that Joe loves lattes just like I do when we were in Chicago. So that's kind of cool. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to take my camera with me. I am really looking forward to be able to take pictures using my new camera. So yes, I do have insurance because no, I don't want anything to happen when I'm there. And so this is it. This is with the small lens on there. So let me show it to you. And normally, when I was in Chicago, I was planning on taking it with me, but then I was not entirely certain. Am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? But eventually I did. And thinking about it, I need to charge the batteries. So it's a good thing I actually took it with me. I've got 3 batteries in total. And that's the one thing I was like, okay, what I need to take with me is I need to make sure that I get my cables with me so I can charge the whole lot. So one of the things I talked to you about was what I try to do when I travel and when I buy things is buy things which I can easily take with me. Well, this microphone is too big for me to take easily with me. So that's basically a no-go. So instead, I will be taking those other babies with me, these ones, the DJIs. But I will probably be taking these headphones. So those are Marshall headphones. I can put them, put them on one another. Nice little package. Put them in here. And it won't take up much room. And I have to say, it's going to be cool, to, thank you, to be able to also share my pictures with you, because that's one of the things I love doing. I don't know, for those who have gone through my Instagram account, they might have seen the pictures I've taken of John Corabi, which were with that new, camera, of course. And then also combined with this big thing. There's a big lens in there. No, I'm not going to take it out. I've done so the last couple of days. I think prior to the first day that I actually did it. So I've got the camera back, so everything is safe. And all I need to do is check for certain what it's like when going through customs. I don't know if I go through customs because I'm going by train, but I made sure that everything I need when it comes to medication, that I have all this evidence in writing that I actually need the medication, and that they're not going to say, yes, sorry, you can only take this one thing with you. We've been there, done that, not going to do that again. So, yeah, and I have to say, I'm actually pretty excited. And I do know that when I get back, I will look here again and think, yeah, I need to continue cleaning up. And the fact that I already started doing it, good, Stacy, that makes all the difference. Because I know this is not me being stuck in a certain situation. This is me being on the road to new adventures. Oh, you have bad weather, so your Wi-Fi is bad. Yeah, I heard the same thing yesterday too. That Joe said that the Wi-Fi was going in and out, but I don't see that it's circling on my end. So I'm counting on it that the new Wi-Fi actually is working. And, I remember what it was like, say, before September, and it wasn't good. It drove me literally nuts. And that's basically why I started looking for all these other methods so I could add an extra camera and record it separately, because I wanted to be able to use everything that I was talking about. So, okay, so going back to the last 3 days and combining it with something current. Well, basically that's the whole thing which I told you about when it comes to London and also to Paris. I think what struck me the most in this whole thing is how many people out there are actually dealing with loss of loved ones. And of course, depending on the age, well, actually, it's not even age related. I mean, my mom died of old age. I know Joe's mom died of old age, and then some too. I mean, my dad died from old age and cancer. Her mom, same story. And that's the thing. If you get old enough, you probably will get cancer at some point, because the cells start to degenerate. And that's a fact. Oh, that's not so good. So Stacy says, today I had a hard day. And this is the moment that I'm like, oh, get on the show. But I get it that she's not capable. And this is what I mean. Her mom was young. She was only 68. And that's what I've come to see, that lots of people actually lose their loved ones at a very young age already. So those who might have checked out the post, they might have seen that I actually posted a Christmas angel on there. And I want to ask everyone to go to the link. So I'll probably make sure that you can find it it's not that I want people to sign up for the challenge per se. Of course, I would love it. But I can only post one link here on Instagram. So that's a little bit difficult. But the goal of the Christmas angel is that people print it and then they can send it to people they know are alone. So it's basically also usable as for little kiddies if you want them to draw and color and all that stuff. But it is also a reminder, like, hey, some people are going to have a really hard time this Christmas. Like Jo, for instance, she lost her mom in March. And Stacy, even though you've lost your mom a few years ago, I do know it's going to be hard for you too. And especially when you don't see, or when you don't have any siblings, or you don't see your siblings anymore, that's going to be hard too. And thinking about it, how about the parents whose kid has grown up and has started living on his own or her own? And I want to ask you today to also reach out to them, because that's what they need. So how is this related to the cleanup challenge? Well, maybe I can come up with something. I probably would say, well, actually I already made the link. It has to do with both the emotional things which keep us stuck. And it also has to do with the time, because pretty soon it's Christmas time. So what I am going to do for those who do sign up is I'm going to make sure that they have the access directly to that printout. I drew it myself, by the way, so they can send it to other people, and that's the good thing. With snail mail, it always takes a few days, but with email, you can send it straight away. You can actually take a picture, and when you take a picture with yourself next to it and you send it to other people, then it's like, hey, I'm here. I know you're there. And that's what I actually did last year, and that was kind of cool. So I saw this picture of me holding the handout today, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. So one of the other things that's actually there was a picture of me with the cleanup crew, at least one of the cleanup crew, and I used their truck to post about the challenge, because for one, I love those great trucks, those big trucks. They're amazing. It's cool when it refers to Universal Studios too. And yeah, it was, I still wanted to give a heads up to the guy. So when Joe and I were in Chicago, at some point, unexpectedly, we got to see Tom Jones, and we had to tell just about everyone about it. And then they started singing Delilah. And then the next day, when we were at the bus stop waiting, that they drove by and they literally almost climbed through the windows to sing it again. And it was so much fun. And so, yeah, I had to post that too. So let's see. Stacy says she messaged her siblings today. That's good. And she said, we had a scare with my brother. He had a biopsy to check if he had cancer. And everything was good. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. And you know, when you don't have much contact with your siblings, please be sure that you do send them some sort of message, whether it's a real actual card through snail mail. Snail mail, you know, the slow mail, which is with a postal service and a postman, or whether it is by sending email. And yes, I bet it brought back talking about your mom. My brother actually called me today. I was planning on calling him back and I totally forgot about it. And he doesn't know that I'm going to be in London. So that's going to be a bit of a surprise, but I am curious what he's going to do. I wouldn't be surprised if he was actually traveling himself. So, but it's nice that it actually came full circle, that you got to talk to your siblings. So did you only talk to your brother or also to other people? Because it's so, you know, especially in the hard times, it's nice if someone is there to support you. Let's be honest. So going back to the challenge and all the 3 pictures denouncing the guy who sang Delilah and then the picture of the Christmas angel. Even to those you don't talk to, you might want to send it to them, you know. Just even if they don't respond back, it's something that's in your heart. And of course, it would be nice if you hear back. If it's in a good way, let's put it that way. I mean, you don't want any shouting, any screaming, any negativity. But this is about you sharing your love. And when you reach out, you show your love for the other one. And yes, it might be, you know, that the other one is like grumpy and all. And it might surprise you. And this is not about expectations. When reaching out to other people, especially when a lot of emotions are linked to it. Thank you. This is about you having a spot in your heart for those people who are still around and at some point have meant a lot to you. And to a degree, probably still mean a lot to you. So don't think this is about them needing to answer you. This is about you knowing that you still love them and always will do. And remember the good times. I think I'm going to end with this. Because when it comes to difficult situations and to emotions, you know, there's only so much we can do. There's only so much we can do. We cannot change the other person. The only thing we can do is either change ourselves or accept that something has happened. And we don't want to change ourselves too much because it's important to be who you can be and who you want to be. And you never want to become this bit of who you can be just because you want to appease the other one. That's something that you never ever want to do. You always want to remain true to yourself. And that's, you know, when they say, you know, either change or accept it, I also know that acceptance isn't that easy. And that's why I said, please talk to others about it. So you know you're not on your own. So like we are doing right now in the comments. Like we should become more of who we really are. So because I'm saying this and in the comments it's going back and forth, about not being in touch with siblings you want to be in touch with. And then again, in the back of my mind, it also says like, okay, and what would it look like when you would be in touch with those people? Okay, because it could be very hard, but then again, it could also be surprising. And that's why I say, don't do it for you, or do it for them. Don't do it because you expect something. Do it because you never know what's going to happen. And should something happen, then you will always know that you told the ones you love, I love you and appreciated you. And that's what I wanted to get across. And, you know, I'm not going to say that the job that you wanted to do is done at that moment here on earth. Then again, if there's no more time left, there's no more time left. But it would be nice if you could just say, okay, it's okay the way it was, and that you don't regret things. And I guess when we talk about working on specific goals and getting rid of the chaos and the clutter which is keeping you from reaching that set goal, that it's so important that you don't let others hold you back. So yes, support is so important, and yes, I think we have to be grateful when we get support, and I mean support in the real sense of people being there for us, listening to us. And, you know, it was not too long ago, I was in the hospital with a friend, her 5-year-old. He had gotten ill very quickly, all of a sudden. She had been to her GP, actually the one on call, and they had sent her to the hospital. So she called me, and she said, I'm going to the hospital. And she said something about her parents, you know, looking after her daughter. And I said, I'm coming over. I didn't even think about it. I just said, I come over. And she was so happy that I said so. And she said, well, Mom and Dad might not agree. And I was like, I'm going there. And they did agree. And actually, they stayed and took care of her daughter. So that was one less thing to worry about. But when we were there, we talked about what was going on. And we also, okay, bye-bye. We also talked about how we were going to get this across, because we didn't feel hurt by the doctors, especially she didn't feel hurt by the doctors. And, well, we came up with all these various things that we could do, starting with the paper that had been printed. When he wasn't feeling very well, because at some point he fell asleep. When I was there, I put my hand on his back. My hands get warm when I do so. And he fell asleep, and I was like, oh, actually, that's not good, because they don't see what's going on. And that's exactly what happened. But then when he did wake up, at some point, I called one of the nurses and said, look at him. Do you see how he's lying down? He can't lie on his back. He can only lie on his side. And he is in a lot of pain. So then when we were whisked away, well, of course, they let us wait. And then later on, I heard that there actually had been a fire in another home, and another kid was involved. So I can understand why the doctor was distracted. I said, okay, so what do we need to monitor? What do we need to keep in mind? And then she said, well, basically, call the GP the next day and talk on. So, well, that was a good thing, because it wasn't what the doctor had thought it was, the one in the hospital. She had been mistaken, because he always has he's sort of asthmatic. So he always has cold, and she thought he had a tummy ache because of his cold. Well, that wasn't the case. This wasn't about his tonsils. This was about his kidneys and his bladder. And we all know how, oh, one of the lights went out, how serious that can be. Anyway, while I was there, my friend said that she was, she was grateful that I had been there. She didn't take it for granted that I would come over. And I was like, well, I'm here. And of course, I'm not going to let you go through this alone. And 2 people always hear more than just one. And that's why I went there, to support her. And that's when we get back to the whole support thing. And you know, even when you have to do things on your own, it's when you can reach out to certain people. And it doesn't always have to be siblings. It could be friends. And it could also be people online. It's, you know, nowadays with the new technology, there's so much more we can do and can find out. And I do believe it's very important to also be able to take advantage of those solutions. And I have to say, especially during COVID, I was so immensely happy that I could actually talk to other people and hang out with them. It made all the difference, especially last Christmas when I actually got pretty ill. And as a result, I couldn't go traveling to a friend who lived like 9 minutes to 2 hours away. I was like, no way that I'm going to do that, because if I take one step, then it's over and done with. But yeah, I did go online and I did talk to people, and that felt really good. So for those who want to know a little bit more about this whole challenge, I'm going to keep the Instagram post on till New Year's Eve. I am probably going to post it also on YouTube. So just go to Lady Lexi Speaks Up. You can, if you want to, and you want to see it for longer than the upcoming week, then please do so by subscribing. I will also make sure that you get the Christmas angel, you know, the one that's supporting other people. And I will also make sure that if you get the course, that you will be able to also get the condensed version of what I actually said. So I'm not the most quick person to go out there. I will be totally honest, but it will get there. So just reach out to me. If you say for some reason I can't reach it, or you said it was going to be there and it isn't there, and then I'll make sure you'll get it anyway. For now, I am going to wish you a good night. What I do really hope, what I really do wish is, if there are some things that you want to discuss which has to do with any of these things that I discussed in the last couple of days or today, let me know. Just let me know so I can talk about it on here. And by sharing my story and also be able to share parts of your story, we can help others. So never underestimate the importance of sharing your story. And yes, let's help everyone with grief, people who are alone, people who need someone to talk to. Because the cool thing about Christmas Angel is you can show your phone and print it out and then take a picture and then send it to someone else.